This is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It's a punch art. There's no stamping involved. I didn't do anything on the inside of this one, but it's really cute. It was Pinterest inspired. So let's get started. You're going to need your card base, which is a standard A2, 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Night of Navy, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and that's going to get mounted right to the front of this. We might as well go ahead and do that. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi. One last piece I have to worry about shuffling around the desk. And it's just got a 1/16 of an inch border around the edge. Okay, then for pieces I have, this is a little template I made. I believe it's a 1-inch circle. I folded it in half and punched holes where I wanted my eyes to be. I just found that was easier to try and get them aligned. It's not necessary, it's just a tip. Okay, I have a star. This is not a Stampin' Up! Star. This one is from Night of Bethlehem dies. It is on the clearance rack right now. But I kind of like the shape of this one. So, and this is, in case you're wondering, from Cricket Cuttlebug. It's this one here. It was a gift from my sister last year at Christmas. Okay, now on this card, I used this paper from the paper company. It just happened to be paper I had in my stash. It's a shimmer paper. I don't know if that comes across on camera. But I have found a way to create it. Or similar. This is the vanilla Stampin' Up! Paper. And I've used direct to paper the Delicata ink pad over the top of it. So that's what we're going to use for today's card. I have some crumb cake to make this straw with. This one is vanilla tag paper I had, but we're going to use the crumb cake for this one. I have a piece of Whisper White to do the face and the hands. I have a piece of, let's see, I can't remember which gray it is. I think it is gray granite to do the basket or the creche, and I've run it through the Subtles embossing folder. This one. Okay. For punches, we have a 2 1/4 inch circle punch. We have a 1-inch circle punch, a 1/2 inch circle punch. For inks, I might use this stamp here. This is a little tiny stamp out of Inspiring Iris. I'll use that for the cheek, but I'm going to show you an alternative way to do that as well. Then I have Blushing Bride and Soft Suede. Let's get started then. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take our, let me show you how to do this. Get some of these out of the way. So I'm bringing a scratch paper. You're going to use your Very Vanilla. And you're going to take your Delicata ink pad and you're literally just going to smear it across the cardstock. You're just going to rub it on the cardstock until you get the coverage that you want. You will need to let it dry for quite a while. That's why I did one previous. Or you can dry it with your heat tool. You can do a couple different layers. But that's how I got that yellow, the golden paper. Okay, let's put that aside. We're done with that. Okay, now let's bring in this grayish brown paper and this yellow paper. We're going to bring in the 2 1/4 inch circle punch. We're going to punch a circle from the gold paper that we created. And then from this other piece, we're going to run it through with our die to cut out our star. Okay, so that's that piece. Then we're going to take this grayish paper that we've run through the embossing folder. I cut a 1/2 inch strip off of it to make the legs. For this part, we're going to cut another circle with our 2 1/4 inch circle punch. And we don't want the whole thing. We want about half of it. Be a little bit less than half. We're going to punch. And do we need that piece? Done with this one. We need this piece. Okay. For this, we're going to bring in our snips. And we're just going to cut little fringes. Make sure I'm in camera here. If you have those fringe scissors, that would be good for this. I probably should have done this prior to the video too, but it's alright. Okay, then you're going to crunch it up a little bit. And that's going to be our hay. So let's cut this off. I'm going to cut it into half, into 2 pieces. So we have a piece to go on either side. Like that. And this piece here is going to go here. Okay, now we need that white piece. With our 1 inch circle punch, we're going to cut it out for the face. Let me get this one out of the way so it's actually neat. And we're going to cut out 2 hands with the 1/2 inch. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Right marker, and there's a wide tip and a fine tip. I'm going to take the fine tip and I'm going to draw a dotted line all the way around the edge of the circles, representing like a stitching line. I'll make sure I'm in frame here. Pull it up so you can see it in a minute. Okay, then maybe a few little grain marks so that it represents the wood. And this one, I've got the grain running the other direction. This one is running up and down, so I'll keep the grain lines going with the direction of the paper. Okay, I want to continue those dotted lines around the edge of this yellow piece, or golden piece. It's not hard, it's just a little dashed line. them as small or as big as you want. A second here, I'll lift it up and show you what I've done. Okay, I also want a few little stitch marks on one side of the straight piece here. Okay, and then a couple of those little wood grain marks. And they're just squiggly lines. Let's see if you can see. Oops. See, I just did little squiggly lines. Okay. Now for the face, I'm going to put your eyes in. That's what I made my template for. I'm going to set my template over and I'm going to draw in those eyes. Just 2 little circles. Take that off and make them as big or as small as you want them. Then I'm going to take either a pencil eraser. Here's the one I used. Or that little stamp, dotted stamp, and the Blushing Bride ink. And I'm going to use the eraser as my stamp. I'm going to ink it up, test it on my paper here. Perfect size. This has been used so it's a little erased, and I'm going to decide where I want my cheeks. I'm going to stamp one stamp on that side, one stamp on this side. Then you're just going to scribble it off, and then it's good as new again. Or you could use that stamp from Inspiring Iris. Then I'm going to take the fine tip again, and I'm going to make a little smile line going from one of these little circles to the other. Okay. And we need a glue dot to go on the back of the face and the hands. So 1 dot behind the face, 1 dot on each hand. Okay. And one other thing we need to do is bring in a sponge dauber or a sponge. Let's see if I can get it to come out of here. And I'm going to use soft suede ink. Okay, where did my piece go for the Krish? Just had it here a second ago. Let me put you on pause and find it. I found it. It was stuck to the bottom of my Blushing Bride ink pad. Okay, so we're going to bring in the soft suede, the sponge dauber, and lightly we're going to sponge around the edge. Don't want it to look too shabby chic, but it is a manger or a crush from a farm, a barn, so you want to give it a little bit of texture. Same on the legs. We're just gonna sponge heavier on the side with the stitching. Just a little bit over the top of it. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna make want to add a little bit to our hay. Okay, now let's put it together. So we're going to take the golden piece and our glue, and this half circle or third of a circle that we cut out and stitched is going to go at the bottom. You're going to line it up with the bottom of the golden one. The straw goes here in the middle, so we're going to add some glue here in the middle. I'm going to squish this up. Add that straw. Add a little glue underneath it so it lays down. Let's fold this one in half before we glue it on. See, I just added a little glue. Add some glue to the back of it. Overlap those pieces, stick it on. Okay, then we're going to take our face. We're going to put that right on over the center of that. And our little hands. We're going to put one on each side of that face. A little glue on my hands. Okay, we're going to bring in our snips and trim this straw so it's not sticking out quite as far. It doesn't have to be neat, we just don't want it sticking out quite as far as it is. Okay, now the legs, they don't obviously need to be that long. We're going to cut an angle snip at in the middle of it. One leg will go one direction, one leg will go the other direction. This one needs to be angled the other way. Okay, and then those will get glued to the back of our piece here. Those are the legs that's going to hold this up. Okay, then we're going to bring in our base. This will get glued right to the front of the card base. Now we're going to bring in our star and glue that to the front of the card. There you go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Thank you so much for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find some time to play with some paper, ink, and stamps.